Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to Moody Coliseum on the Pony Express podcast. I'm Billy Embody. We've got new SMU women's basketball coach, Adia Barnes, joining us today. Very, very happy to have you with us. Thanks for doing this.
Very excited to be here.
We've seen you completely rebuild SMU's roster since the day you were announced here, and you had even gotten to work, of course, before that, picking up a few commitments. And now that summer's here, your team has arrived. The excitement for you. Let's dive into that a little bit. You've got your team who just arrived. You guys had your first team meal
last night.
Yeah. And on the flip side, you had to piece together and build up this whole new roster. So there's the excitement of the new players, which we'll get into, but the excitement that this process is complete. How are you and your staff feeling?
It's actually not totally done yet, but it's pretty much done. There could be one more moving part, but it was just so exciting. I think to have the opportunity for like a clean slate, a lot of players, I didn't even have the chance to retain players because it kind of happened really fast in the middle of the portal opening. And so it was just a whirlwind. So a lot of players from here decided to go into the portal. And then for me, it was like, whoa, I got to build a team. Yeah. I have to try to find 15 players. And it was just really fast, but it kind of organically came together. I brought a couple players from Arizona that I had recruited for years, and then some other players that were recruiting in the process that had visited Arizona kind of just shifted and came here. And I didn't realize until dinner last night, one of the players, Adia, hadn't even ever been here. And I was like, oh, you haven't even seen campus yet? She's like, no. But it happened so fast. I'm like, you were visiting Arizona. It totally skipped my mind. So she kind of went on a quick campus tour last night. But it's just fun. It was our first time together. Some great kids, great students. So that part was seamless. And just some really excited players that I had relationships with, that I had known or had watched from afar, and put it together. So I just can't wait.
Is that one of those things about this campus that you're like, don't worry about it, you're going to like it no matter what?
It's funny because I love Damon, and, I had watched Damon and what he did at all his stops, and, what he did at Maryland. And so he was always the type of AD I wanted to work with. And so when he came, that was like a no-brainer when, recruited me. And I was like, oh, he's like just someone I'm totally aligned with, and his vision is big. And so I knew that part. I hadn't seen campus yet when I committed. And I was like, if you'd have shown me this, I'd have committed a lot faster. But because it was much more beautiful. Googling it did not do it justice. Sure. Or chroming it, I'm not biased, but going on and just hearing about it. When I got here, it was way more beautiful and just way more special than I could have ever imagined.
What is the process of building a team from scratch? Because there's got to be, or at least if I was in your shoes, a little bit of almost, you're paralyzed. You're like, I have so much to do. Yeah. There's so many players in the portal. There's so many options I can go through.
Who can I get?
Who do I start with? What do I start with? What was your process in diving into that?
Well, the first thing was obviously, the foundation of every team is a really good point guard, a really good center. Now, we got some really good guards. We didn't really have a center, but it didn't worry me as much because the ACC was so guard heavy. Yeah. I just came from the Big 12. It was very center dominant, really girthy big center. So I felt like when we were our best, we didn't really have a center. Yeah. We kind of played two forwards because of our mobility and our athleticism, so that didn't worry me. But just having a point guard that's really dominant, so I got two really good point guards, 3 forward that can play that position. Yeah. So that was the anchor, and then making sure we had really good guard play. So being able to shoot the 3 and defend the way I wanted to, so being athletic, that was really important. And then just I feel like rebounding wise, we probably have to have that by committee. But I think that we got some good pieces to work off of, and some really good people that were bought in, and a very experienced in their years team. Not experienced together and not experienced in my system, but players that have one more year and want to move on. So more than I've had the last couple of years.
Let's talk about your guards. Who are you excited about? Early
All
on,
of them.
There's got to be that excitement because you have a new team pieced together, but you also have some familiarity. You saw Skinner up close.
Yeah, played against her. She kicked our butt every time. I remember it was funny.
Is that something as a coach that you're like, all right, that we game planned around her.
I'm tired of playing against her.
Yeah.
Well, it was our rival school.
Exactly, that too.
But yeah, I really liked the way she played. What I liked about her, she's small. And as people are always like, oh, you like these tiny point guards. Typically, it doesn't matter for me as long as they can play. I liked her, how she was small, smart, efficient. I think she can even get better. Yeah. And she really wants to be better and be a pro. But I liked the way that you couldn't, if she was hard to guard, because when we went under screens, she would shoot behind it. When we weren't aggressive, she'd shoot behind it, behind the screen on all balls. She had really good floor vision. And what was really important to me was to have point guards like her and Janiyah that can run a team. Yeah. They can be like the voice in the locker room and on the court. So those things were really important for me with a new team. So, Janiyah from Stanford is a really good shooter. She can also go to the 2. She has a little bit more size. But I love playing 2 point guards together. And then, Kyla can play the point guard. So there's just a lot of different situations for the point guard, which I love.
To have Janiyah have that experience in the ACC, was that important for you? You obviously watch women's college basketball. You get the feel for the league. But to have somebody who's been through it, especially going coast to coast and navigating all of that.
I think, and that wasn't like the focal point of my thought. Sure. My thought was like, I really like smart players. Yeah. She obviously is high academics. She wouldn't have been at Stanford. But the system, Tara and Kate, Kate Pay, the new coach now, run, you have to be like a high IQ player. Yeah. So that was really important for me at that 1-2 position. And then I had kind of known her, watched her over the years, watched her play a little bit in high school. Didn't really recruit in high school, but I knew that if she was one of the players that ever got the portal, she'd be a player I was interested in. And then her athleticism. Yeah. I thought she can defend in the backcourt with us. And so all of those things, she was the total package for me. Really excited. And she wanted to be somewhere where she could lead, play a big role. And I thought this is the place for her to do it. And it's great academics, so she's also getting a good degree.
Do you need those key early commitments to kind of set the tone when it comes to the portal, or was it just
it was so fast.
Yeah,
it was so fast. So it wasn't like usually you want those early commitments because then it becomes an avalanche. Mm-hmm. But it was happening so fast. Mm-hmm. It kind of was happening simultaneously. Yeah. So I think, but securing her, it gave me her and then Ty Skinner. And then Paulina, Maylene, all of my players, there was some familiarity with our system and just knowing we have a good base. Yeah. Because in the portal, you don't know who you're going to get. Yeah. So you may get a couple early, but you're all in because you don't know what if someone's not available late and everybody's competing for these great players, and they were all really heavily recruited. I mean, Tennessee, like all these top teams in the country. So securing them fast to have a good backcourt was really crucial for us.
Kyla Deck is somebody who has had success at North Texas against SMU from here, from the Frisco area. I know you were talking about recruiting Dallas. We'll get to that in a little bit, but right up North Tollway for you in the future to stop in and see some of those area players. But what did it mean for her to come into this program?
It meant a lot. For the way she plays, she can score, she can defend. She's an athlete, so that was really important for how we play. I knew I wanted to get a lot more athletic. Last few years, we had not been athletic and couldn't play my style. But she can score and she's an athlete. I think those combinations are hard to find. So all those guards I talked about, they can all play both ends of the floor. So very important. Another really important thing for me at SMU early, especially, and just for the future of our success, is recruiting in Texas. We have to be phenomenal recruiters in Texas. We can recruit in our own state down the road. So we can just recruit in Texas and be successful. So that was a huge thing for me when I choose a job or thinking about where I want to be long term and for a long time. You got to be able to recruit in state and have talent state. I've never had that luxury in my career. And so that was really important. So being really good with Dallas kids, even if we get them on the back end, even if some kids go other schools, like we did with Ayanna, it's getting them to come back. And Dallas is a great city. We have everything. This is a beautiful place, and you get a great city, and you get a phenomenal education. So when you have all those things, why wouldn't you want to come back, or why wouldn't you want to stay home? And so that's what we're doing. So having Dallas kids was really important.
You're still learning some of the ins and outs of SMU, of course, let alone new city and all of those things. But it seems like each program has been able to find a face of that Dallas local recruiting early in whatever coach's tenure. And it's kind of helped. Jazzy Gibson didn't get really recruited here last staff, and she ended up committing without even seeing campus, which is kind of interesting. Now that we can talk about her together, as I asked you about her on the press conference day, what does she mean to you as far as being, especially a Duncanville program that's been so successful?
Yeah, and we're recruiting a lot of kids from that school. So for her, it was coincidental. So she was already committed at Arizona, had came on a visit there, and then this transition happened. So she's like, oh, I get to stay home. So I think for her, it was a blessing in disguise. And she's a great kid from a great program that we're going to recruit heavily, that we have a very good relationship with. And, you know, we can get 1 or 2 kids from their school every year and be successful. So very important. And Jazzy, high academic, high character, low ego, which is what you want, and just a kid that is great to build a program with. And so you want freshmen like that. Nowadays, it's very hard with the recruiting portal and the way things are. A lot of schools aren't recruiting a lot of freshmen. So you have to have the right freshmen that want to work, that want to be good. And, you know, she's just coming off injury. So she's got work. She just got cleared. Our other freshman, Roxy, also coming off injury. But we were investing in them, and we know they have potential. And they're very good people and good students. So that's a really good foundation to start with.
Front court almost complete. You mentioned Grace Hall being one that is on the way. What can you tell me about her to kind of balance that strong guard play that you guys have in the room with the front court as well?
Yeah, so the front court, really important to have good versatile pieces from the way we play. We play a lot of 5-out. We play a lot of, pick and pop and different quick hitters like the pros. Being able to have forwards that can shoot the three, they can pass the ball, they can post up mismatches and play our style athletically was very important. So offensively, knew we wanted to spread the floor because then our guards have room to penetrate. She does that. And I think that she also came from a system that played good, tenacious defense, so she already has that foundation too. She's another player that wants to go pro, that has experience. She's not going to be with us for the summer because she has to finish an internship and graduate before she comes. But I think she's going to have a really, really bright future here.
I'm glad you brought up the style of play you want to play.
Yeah.
Let's dive into that a little bit more. What is the system? You mentioned the 5-out, and it sounds like you're shooting the long ball piece of that.
Not living and dying by it, but shooting it.
Exactly. There you go.
Well, when I looked up a lot of analytics, it's funny because we're on, like, if you look at the analytics of our play, you can put that together and kind of see what your strengths and weaknesses are. Like, we'll shoot a ton of threes, and I was like, okay, we don't usually shoot that many threes. So the offense, I love offense. I love that we're going to be this type of team that's aggressive defensively that will create offense easily. Not a team that's just going to defend and score 40 points. That's not what I like. If you look at our best teams, we were known for defense, but we were also very good offensively. And a couple of years ago, we had one of the most efficient offensive teams. So the objective is aggressive defense, don't sit in the zone, and we change our aggressiveness off of pick and roll situations. So if we want to contain more, we go to a more contain off of that. Want to be aggressive, we can trap, we can hedge, and then get steals and go in transition. But if it's not transition, we flow into different stuff that's going to have more freedom this year. It's going to look a little different because we have more versatility, but we can shoot the three. Our post players need to shoot the three. You're not going to see as much roll rise. You're going to see a lot more spread out where they can drive it, penetrate, and read and react stuff like the pros. And then we want to get specific players to score. We have quick hitters. So whether it's Iversons or different floppy action or different isolations for our posts, we do stuff off of that. So I think it's a very fun style. If you don't like to play defense, you're probably not going to have fun here because you probably won't have an opportunity to play. But if you like to play defense and score and have freedom in offense like the pros do, you'll love it here. And I think defensively, what I show in our players is you're going to improve. You're going to learn man-to-man good fundamental defense, and we are very detail-oriented. So you're going to get better. And if you want to go pro, you have to be able to play defense. You can't sit in the pack line and go play pro. Because if you play 10 feet off or 5 feet off and you're passive, in the pros you can't do it because everybody can score. So like we talk about that a lot, and that's how our players can go pro. That's how they make teams and are successful because you can defend and then you can score. But offensively, we work on a ton of fundamentals. I think we're one of the few programs in the country that's going to do skill work all year long, and that's what we've been known for. We've never had the biggest budget. We've never had 12 All-Americans. We've always had players that we built, and we got better, and you see them improve throughout their career and get better every month. Right? You don't see them not improve during the year. And because we do that, and I got a lot of that from Europe, played 13 years pro in Europe, and we did fundamentals in the morning and practice at night. Now you'll see longer practices in the preseason, but then you'll see them shorter, but you'll see every player in the gym. Fundamentals, they'll have an hour. It's what they can do. It's improving their own skill, letting them work off of how they're going to score in our offense. And then it's a shorter practice later, which has worked for us. Now, if you don't like basketball and you don't want to go play pro, you're going to hate our system because you're going to be doing fun whether you're the first or 15th player. And that's not for everybody, but I'm okay because it weeds out who doesn't want to be great here and who wants to be pro and be good and get better is who's successful here. And I'm okay with that model.
Well, in a strong offense is going to put butts in seats.
Exactly, because you can't score 40 points and sell tickets. It doesn't work.
And let's talk about that. You're trying to revitalize a program that is coming off of tough first season in the ACC. You need the support of the fans. That offensive system, how important is that to at least have that, as humming as best as you can early on?
It's really important because and every kid, no one wants to go play just defense. They don't. Like, we're gonna get better at it. We're gonna work at it. But if you just went in every living room and said, well, we're gonna just defend, you're not gonna get any kids. I wouldn't sign 14 players. It's just not the sexy thing. It's not what you want to do
anymore.
No, like people just want to score points, but you got to be a complete player. So I really value players that can play on both ends of the floor. But it has to be a fun style where you can score. So our defense can create that. But offensively, it has to have flow. It has to work and effort. So we work a lot on our timing and spacing and passing to have a good offense. So now what I'm excited for is getting these 14 players that all come from different habits, different offenses, different defenses, and putting us together and seeing how we become this cohesive unit. That's what I'm excited to do, and that's a challenge as a coach. It's like a puzzle. You have to put all the pieces together. So I'm ready for the challenge. I did it before, and I want to do it again at an even higher level, and I know this is the right place to do it. We have everything here to do it, and I think the fans, when I got to Arizona, we had a couple hundred fans. I mean, I remember my third year when we won the NIT, I was doing a campaign to get 1,000. So we can do the same thing here, and we'll end up selling this place out. And that's what I love to do, and I think that we have the right staff, players, and the resources to do it, and we have the investment from administration and from the school. So those are the most important things for success. And I think once you win, you also put more butts in seats. You don't win, you don't do that. That's just the reality.
I was going to say, what has been the experience like? Obviously, you coming in here, you and Damon at the same time, basically. And the new staff on both sides of things. You guys coming in here, and then of course the new athletic department staff. What's it been like? Getting kind of everything you need eventually for a season, for this, for that, for marketing. If you live in Dallas, you've been on Facebook or Instagram, you pop up there all the time talking about tickets. I don't know if you know that, but
I
you're
didn't know that, but that's good. Good job, Henry. I'm glad, because we need to sell them. But we're going to be intentional and get out in the community, get people to know us. A lot of people around here, they leave for the summer, but we're going to find people that stay here. I think the main thing is momentum, getting people excited. I think there's a lot of momentum already when people see all these great players coming in. So I think there are going to be some growing pains. Are we going to go to first in the country? No, we're not. But we're going to be better, and we're going to continue to get better. And I think that one of the big things that Damon, explained, and he's been really, clear about his support for women's basketball and support for all of his sports. He wants us to be successful. So that's a commitment that not a lot of places commit to. And I think when you have that commitment, and then President Hartzell, who also loves women's basketball. So to have those things and have that backing is so important. And you're not successful if you don't have that. People can say you are. No, you're not. It's just a fact. Because you have to have the resources. You have to have the support. You have to have the vision. It's not all about money. Because for me, I've always been the underdog. I can do more with less. But it's just having the resources and the access to things. Whether that's the support from marketing to go out and sell tickets. You have to have that internal support, because that's the way you build things. And we're going to do that here. I think people want SMU to be successful in women's basketball, and they were years ago. So bringing that excitement back, and I've watched Andy do it. And he's a great coach, coming from USC, even watched him at USC, then here to build it the way he did. So that's what I want us to do. And I think we can, and I'm excited. And this is the perfect venue. this size gym, I actually like it even more than
loud.
having in the first couple of years before we'd have the curtain. You don't have to have that. This is the perfect size. So my goal is to build it until it's packed. And I think we can do that. And, we got to win some games, have that good style of play, have people excited. And I want the little girls in the Park Cities, in Dallas, in like everywhere from DeSoto and all the middle schools around Plano and, all these Preston, all those areas. I want them to want to come to SMU. I want them to look forward to camp. And I think you can build that community here. And I see it and I feel it here. Even though it's a big city, there is a niche here for this school. So I want everybody to dream about coming to SMU.
A couple more things with Adia Barnes here. Let's start about you adjusting to Dallas.
Yeah.
Have you eaten anywhere good that has really caught your eye?
Okay,
or have you even had time for that?
I had a couple of Mexican spots.
Okay.
I just they're okay. No, yes, we've ate a couple places. I don't even know where because I love, like, there's a couple chains I do love. I love True Fruit Kitchen.
Okay, yeah.
That's like one of my favorite, but that's not like an authentic Dallas place. I ate at Carmine's, which was, I pulled up and I was like, I called my friend. I said, "This says Egyptian restaurant. Do you know what I'm talking about on Mockingbird?"
Yes, yeah.
It says like Egyptian. I was like, "Am I in the right spot?" They were like, "Oh." Then I googled it. It was some big mafia story.
Yeah.
So went there. It was really good. Went to some steak places downtown, but I really have not. I just literally moved here. Yeah.
Well, there's tons to do. You
I
won't,
know.
you will
I
not
can't
miss.
wait.
Yeah.
And Damon's a foodie, so he talks about all.
He was. I told you this before the interview started.
He knew all the neighborhoods.
You guys were on. I believe Sirius down from ACC spring meetings. Nice spot, Amelia Island. But he was dropping all these streets and like hot spot areas. I was like, I mean, does he just work? Around town. I mean,
he doesn't have little kids because some of those spots, I'm not bringing my kids out after 5 or 6 o'clock. It's like
exactly.
No, but I need to get out because there are a list of places I want to go. We went to a fancy steak place downtown. It's a famous. Henry, you would know this. A famous downtown steak place. Del Cristo or
Del Frisco.
Del Frisco.
Double Eagle.
Yeah, that was nice.
That's a great spot.
Okay,
is that where you're hosting official visits? We won't. We'll kind of.
We had a couple. We had
That's
a couple
a good
there,
spot.
but it was funny because we're in like athletic gear, and so I forgot. Okay, Dallas can get really fancy.
It can.
So I was sitting there, and I'm like in a t-shirt and some jeans, like super casual. And walking around, I didn't realize I was seeing all these fancy hats. I'm like, oh my gosh, we're really underdressed. But then it was Derby. It was like Derby Sunday.
Oh, got it.
I was like, they really dress up for, and I was like, oh, I was really embarrassed. And I realized that. I didn't realize because we had so many visits back to back.
Yeah.
But that was really nice. I just like the fact you can get what you want in Dallas.
Oh, for sure.
If you want something fancy over the top, you can get it. If you want a hole in the wall, if you want great soul food, if you want good Mexican, there's something for everyone. So I just love it. I'm like a Texas girl now.
When you get your team together on the floor for the first time, what's I don't want you to give away your initial message. Maybe they'll hear it before this comes out. But what is that like to have so many new faces? You got a couple that you know.
Yeah.
But what's the initial starting point? We'll end on that.
Well, the first thing is like being really intentional about building chemistry. And I think the team, like the basketball stuff are fine, like teaching fundamentals, like that's not rocket science. We're going to work on a lot of fundamentals in the summer, kind of introduce the way we're playing, just like big picture, break it down to individual skill and kind of see where everybody is at fundamentally. Because you'd be surprised, like the fundamentals at our level, even if it's great players, they're really lacking. So we're really big on pivoting on both sides, balance, shooting, all those things. And then, like, the most important thing for me this summer is the staff, new strength coach, new everybody. We're all new. Is to really build some chemistry. Okay. So we had, like, icebreaker at dinner last night. And just spending time, getting to know each other, being intentional about those things and team building. Because the other basketball is going to take care of itself. We're going to be in the gym. We're going to work. We do a lot of skill work. So this week we're starting on Thursday. It's a lot of one-on-one skill. Then we'll be later on the week with as a team. But we do that to build that relationship with coaches. Like it's all the coaches at every skill. So it's on the court 7-8 hours sometimes. Wow. We don't have that sometimes here just because of camps and stuff. But we'll build small groups. We'll be split up. Yeah. And then we're building it with the players and the trust and the teaching and the one-on-one and then the team stuff. So we're just really working on just being intentional of building this team because you got to have trust and relationships. And we are missing some players this summer. You know, Grace isn't here. Mylene's with the national team. Paulina will go with the Puerto Rican national team. So those players are here. But the 10 here, it's really getting some, you know, foundation with us and leadership. And you can't just say go lead.
Yeah.
And what does leadership look like for one coach? It looks like something different for mine. So the championship teams I've been on and coached, they've had great leadership from within. So fostering that, teaching what that looks like for me, and like me leading that, and what does that look like? I can't just say, oh, be a leader. Like your leading may be different than my leading. So, and you got to lead from the front and the back. So teaching that, showing what I expect that to look like, and just a lot of one-on-one and relationship building. I think that players don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. So you can teach them all the basketball, but you don't care about them, you don't get to know them, they're not going to play for you. And like when you do those things, you can teach them and then they'll run through a wall. So you'll get 10 times more out of a player than anything from that. So intentional about that, and that's something I really focus on because the chemistry is very important for me. I gotta love home coaching. I gotta love the vibe, and like I'm a big relationship person.
Awesome. Well, great stuff.
Yeah,
Adia
thank
Barnes,
you.
thanks so much for joining us today on the podcast, and looking forward to many more appearances with you on the pod. So best of luck this summer building the team, and we'll chat again soon.
Thank you.